I'm sure I've already talked about this just as like a side thing or something to graze upon, but I kind of wanted to give it its own video because of something that's come up recently that I talked about with a couple friends. So, for a little bit of context, it was released a little bit ago on one of my friend's art Discord servers that there was a new AI feature coming to Discord that was an AI image conversion feature and that you couldn't opt out of it, and that caused a little bit of panic amongst my artist friends who were on that server. And as of right now, I'm not really sure about the validity of these supposed features being added, but I think it just says so much about the space of art creation and being an internet artist right now, because there's just so many layers of problems that we have to deal with, and this is just one of many. So that's kind of what this video is just like me talking about this problem and a couple of things that I think make it especially hard. Because I want to say at least like 5 years ago, I don't think this would have been such a problem. And I'm not saying that there wasn't problems during the time that I was a beginner artist. It's been a while since I've actually done a ramble, so that's what we're here for. But I think specifically, I just kind of wanted to dedicate one of these sections to just the state of social media platforms, because there's a huge difference in the way that the algorithms are and the communities around them, and even just the features that they keep adding. Every other social media platform, I'm just hearing about how these social media platforms are just adding AI features that they make it specifically and purposefully difficult to opt out of, to turn off, all that type of thing. So you kind of have to worry about if one of these platforms is suddenly going to start doing that, and then having to scour through every single one of your posts and turn off that feature so that way you don't have to deal with it. I don't even have to discuss how frustrating that is for an internet artist, and this was definitely something that I didn't have to deal with until very recently. And this is one of the biggest reasons that I stopped posting to a couple different particular platforms, because this was something that they added in. And obviously I don't want my art to be fed to AI or just AI art in general, and I'm sure that's the same sentiment for other artists. So it's difficult to first off now find a platform where this isn't an issue. That's just kind of a bummer. But obviously this is just one of many problems. I think the second biggest problem that I'm seeing around just general platforms, besides finding one that doesn't harbor all of this AI art or AI embedded features that benefit off of artists and what they do, is the community and fan bases or art-based communities around specific social media sites. Because I know that like even back then there was so much discourse that was unnecessary. There was a lot of really mean-spirited types of people around. But I feel like that's just been so much more amplified the more time goes on, that when you don't have an art style that is particularly conventionally attractive to most people, or is somehow just a little bit off to a majority, they don't hesitate to let you know about it. And I get like wanting to make a joke and just going, haha, this is kind of funny, but it's mostly at the artist's expense, and not to be the anti-bullying person, but it's just done in a really nasty way. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like every other art discourse that I see now is so abysmal and non-issues generally that it's like a not to be mean, but then you just decide to be mean in your post. And I think I just got so tired of that sort of space, especially on Art Talk, that I booted it out of there altogether, and that's kind of why I've not been posting ever since the ban. Is after that, I just decided that it was best for me to not be on that platform anymore, because I know I talked about this already, but I had a lot of issues, I guess, growing my platform on Art Talk, and especially with some of the very particularly exaggerated features in my art style. People were so quick, I guess, to point out the very obvious differences in facial features or like the things that I particularly exaggerated for my art style, and then I go, hey, you know, this is just kind of like something that I do. It's very clear that it wasn't being done in a more like innocent way in most of these cases, and at some point I had to add a filter to the words that were being used in my comments, and I had to private a couple of my stuff, and you know, it just was not good. And yeah, that's kind of the reason I haven't been posting on specifically Art Talk, but Art Talk I think is the biggest purveyor of that issue particularly. And of course the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about is the continued harassment of beginner artists, and I see this on every platform. And again, this isn't to say that this wasn't a problem originally forever ago. This has been a problem for the longest time, bullying beginner artists for their art styles, or being especially mean at the beginning of their art journey when they're still trying to figure everything out. And I don't know, it just feels like, especially now, people tend to spread beginner artists' art and then make fun of it. It's like mind-boggling to me because every artist kind of started at that stage at some point, but it's kind of become a sort of spectacle sort of thing where a beginner artist gets harassed and then their art is spread everywhere and it becomes a meme. And that isn't to say this isn't some particular art trends, because I feel like there's a difference between a kid's random art and a beginner artist's art, and I'm specifically talking about beginner artists who post to Art Talk and not like kids' drawings, whatever. But it's easier to become sensationalized in the wrong way as a beginner artist now than I guess it was in, I don't know, 5 years ago. But the same things have kind of happened even then with cringe compilations, especially with the animation meme community. But I feel like that's been cranked up so much more often, and it's encouraged a lot more on those spaces. But even with all of these problems, I don't think it's hopeless, and I don't think people should stop posting their art. If anything, I think more people should be posting their art even more because of all of these problems that we have to deal with. And I think more than ever, it's important to build community with other artists. It's probably one of the reasons that I stayed on Art Talk for as long as I did, is because I loved building a sort of space of mutuals who were just kind of nice and supported each other. And I love, like, specifically befriending beginner artists for that reason, because they get a lot of slack even now for whatever reason, because it's the internet, I guess. What I'm trying to say is it really does suck right now, and even during this point of time there's a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean that we have to be really like defeatist about it. And if anything, I think we should be pushing back from it more. I don't know, I just kind of wanted to rant about this for a little bit because it's stressful, and at this point YouTube's the only place that I'm posting now because of all of these problems. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts, and I'm always up for discussion. It's my favorite thing ever, so you know, that's all. Bye.